Welcome to another video, and as patch 6.3 not only brought with massive arguments for playing content, getting new outfits and gear, or simply coming back to the game after taking a long break, there are a couple of changes to certain jobs as well. So here's my job balancing and meta ranking for the Booba patch with a grain of salt, milk of the goddesses and whimper of Yoshida. But of course, as only Machinist and Paladin received significant changes, I want to engulf this ranking into the framework of the next Ultimate raid coming, or if you watch this later, maybe being available already. Otherwise, it looks very much identical to patch 6.28, apart from some quality of life changes of Dragoon and Monk, or utility improvements for Warrior and Bard. And the Dancer of course, which can now use healing stuff while dancing. So which aspect does count in Ultimate raids? First and foremost are DPS, because damage checks are sick and optimizing your throughput and rotation is key to solve the encounter. However, as there are a couple of add phases, mostly some split or cleave damage is also not bad. And some jobs have insanely powerful skills and spells that deal damage to multiple targets without affecting your single target rotation. Actually most jobs have, but some better than others. The third factor however is party support and adjustability. Anyone who ever raided with a decent Black Mage in their party and then later had that Black Mage to be replaced with a Machinist, Dancer, Bard or Summoner or Red Mage will know how sweet it feels to have this spot being filled with a job that can deal damage wherever it stands and no matter which position it is getting directed to. Which makes this a very useful trait to have in your party, as well as the target's damage mitigation aspect where the new Machinist changes come into play and strike hard. Overall, play the job you enjoy and feel comfortable with, as this is your best choice anyway. But let's stop wasting more time and get started. On the melee department, balancing goes hard right now, and Team Yoshida made some decisive moves in the last couple of patches to assure that everyone being invested with positionals performs very equally and gets a good feeling about that. Of course, on ADPS we still have a leading samurai due to how it doesn't offer party damage support like others do. But while this might go strong for party or raid finder, I'm sure a well optimized group taking their fates into their hands against Ultimate will only be interested how the party performs as a whole. So looking at the RDPS chart for measurement is easy enough, and here all of them perform absolutely identical. Yes, there are a couple of max stats that go into one or the other camp's favor, but that is mostly just crit variance and nothing we should really look at. Which means technically all of these jobs are A+, as they lead the chart over the casters, over the range DPS, and do so with little downsides, except that your party needs to grant you uptime with certain uptime strats managed by the whole static. One thing I would put into mind here though, the Reaper now performing equally with others can possibly be a win by a slight margin, just because of how some attacks have natural cleaving potential without misaligning your rotation, plus the Arcane Crest thing giving that little extra mitigation, which truly is a benefit in Ultimate content, that Ninja and Samurai offer for themselves only and Monk does in a slight more complicated way in being reliable to the healers. However, when cleaving might actually become a thing, the whole Blood of the Dragon phase gets big advantages here, and I guess Dragoon is always one of the most favorite melee choices in Ultimate content anyways. And finally, looking at positionals, Reaper and Ninja take big wins here for their small dependency to positionals compared to other melees, which leads us to a Reaper, Ninja and Dragoon being A+ tier, while Monk and Samurai fall a bit short on A. Yes, I'm doing these plus and minus ranks again, but this time around to emphasize on how close and good the balancing is right now. Additionally, small differences are shown by the spot on where I put the job on the tier. So the spot on the left side is ranked the highest and the one on the right side is ranked the lowest, but of course still higher than the ranked tier below. Which leads us to the caster jobs, where I can quickly summarize all that I said about the Black Mage again, remaining a choice for specialists only. So once you and your party is able to utilize a Black Mage's potential, positioning can become super stable and reliable, and even making up for the one or the other melee that needs to be babysit with uptime strats. Yes, for the average player or party, a Black Mage might become a real pain in the ass, because of how much self-centralized this job works. But whenever you manage to work as a group and integrate the Black Mage properly, you get damn freaking explosions, my friend. And as we're talking about Ultimate right now, optimizing is definitely a thing here, so why not going the little extra mile, opting for the Black Mage and getting out one of the highest possible ADPS outputs, or let's say the absolute best damage a caster role can bring. Because when counting in how the system works, you still want a 5% party setup to get your party buff and limit break benefits. So for well-optimized people, a serious encounter tackle, Black Mage is A+. For all else, I would put it into A-, which easily sums up as A tier. Summoner and Red Mage, however, are not sleepers at all. If your party manages to compensate for their lack of damage with a pinch of sexy A+ DPS performance, or tanks that are just crushing it, healers that keep pushing the glare war, you will get solid caster machines at your side, that are very flexible, very robust, with tons of party support, offensively and defensively, and something that can keep up raid members for simple one-person mistakes. However, as mistakes are punished way harder in Ultimate, Race is not the secret sauce in the way that it is in the typical Raid Finder Savage proc party. So at the end of the day, the lack of damage compared to a Black Mage can become a crucial factor to your loss. Which leads us to basically 3 scenarios. Red Mage and Summoner in Savage proc for usual Party Finder is A+. Red Mage and Summoner for ultimates without much cleaving potential is A-, but if there is any target above the one boss you're facing, those two offer one of the best cleaving potential of all jobs, so all in all, I guess we can put them into A. Now to the ranged physicals. Machinist buffs were much more significant than I thought, due to how that little 10% damage mitigation can help in difficult encounters. Above that, it still goes hard on the flexibility aspect, which is a fate and trait the other two, Dancer and Bard, are sharing kinda. However, the lack of good passive cleaving might be an issue, and the fact that Summoner and Red Mage come very close and basically offer the same advantage just in different details, some people could actually overestimate the Machinist now. Still, I agree that now it became a true competitor to Bard and Dancer, and as we cannot measure how precious this new Dismantle ability might become, I would be careful to go overboard with my assumptions here. It unfortunately still is lacking some very small amounts of damage. That can be said about Dancer and Bard as well, which had not been touched except some nice changes to the Bard's Nature's Minne, that you can use more frequently now and on the whole party, while the Dancer can now use heals and mitigations while dancing, which is indeed a quality of life enhancement. In past ultimates, the Dancer seemed to be favorable over the Bard, which might be due to the fact of how well it scales in DPS optimized scenarios and has the slight passive cleaving advantage. Yet, while forming a truly separate role that needs to be taken into account for the before mentioned party buff and limit break enhancement, but just simply put to the test, all of them fall short compared to the competition. So with great flexibility, slight lack of damage compared to melee DPS at least, the possible boost of your party through Dismantle, and cleaving advantage of a Dancer, I would grant Machinist and Ricardo the A spot and Bard the A-. On the tanks, we have to somehow put those massive Paladin changes into our ranking, right? Or is it actually not that relevant? Because as it stands now, it doesn't mix up the meta much, except that the logs show a slight drop in DPS compared to the Warrior. What matters more, however, is how much people choose Dark Knights for how well they are offering magical damage mitigation and straight massive DPS outputs. Where Gunbreakers are preferred for their special flexibility aspect on its rotation, as well as very solid defensives, especially with Heart of Corundum. Warrior on the other hand offers a straight burst phase and has its Shake It Off buffed to now also add a regen effect. Yet is very prone to any form of phase changes that interrupt its cooldown window, because of how centered it is around inner release. But of course, if you're looking for a really in-depth assessment, please refer to tank mains that cleared Dragonsong Reprise or experts in general, what they recommend for the next ultimate, even though it's a prediction still. My personal one would be Dark Knight and Gunbreaker on A+, and the other two on A. Healers haven't been changed at all, but I do believe that Scholar and White Mage were the healers the most players choose for ultimate. Maybe from the fact that sometimes it feels you need to work much harder on Sage and Astro for basically the same result. I guess here it matters even more to how much you enjoy playing a certain healer and how you accomplish to manage its kit properly while still being able to deal the right amount of damage. Keeping the party alive is a tough job in these forms of content, and for everything below Savage or Ultimate, the small DPS differences or HPS throughput are insanely negligible, so please just take the healer you feel related to the most. As long as you have one shield healer at least, I highly advise to follow your heart and choose that healer that offers those traits you're looking for. If you don't know those traits yet, check out my 5 reasons to play series for those jobs I already covered, or refer to the Shadowbringers videos for the jobs that are yet missing. Most aspects are easily translatable to Endwalker. So, solid A choice or even A+, or A-, it really doesn't matter. Which means this tier list doesn't matter at all, because I lack the experience for a detailed review of each job, and I believe that even if I gathered that knowledge, we're all biased towards the one or the other job. So there will never be a truly objective meta ranking. If you just want facts and numbers, check out FF logs, calculate defensive skills and utilities into the mix, and make your own decision. Each and every form of content can and will be cleared by each job. And if it doesn't, Yoshi-P will fix it as soon as possible, as seen on 6.2. Content is meant to be enjoyed, and as you're measured against other people that share the job with you, follow your instincts, follow your own path, and create an unforgettable story by yourself. The story of a true warrior of light.